Hello everyone, and today we're going to be doing probably the most important UCAS tutorial because UCAS is down, so I can't continue making the videos as I wanted to, and we'll be going over personal statements. Okay, so you're all probably staring at a blank screen at the moment thinking that you have no idea how to write a personal statement, and that feeling doesn't ever really go away. Hopefully, after this tutorial, you'll have a good enough of a clue on how to write a personal statement so that you can make a good solid start. But in all honesty, that feeling never goes away because a personal statement is different between every single person. No two personal statements are alike, and even the reader reading it might have a different opinion to someone else. And the most important thing to do to begin with is to get started by writing some words down and getting a first draft. A personal statement isn't an essay, it isn't an assignment, it's not like nothing you've written before, and it is all about you, which is something a lot of students really struggle with because they're not really used to having to talk about themselves. So for now, I would suggest for your first draft that you try your best to get the words down onto paper so you can get started. Don't use words that you wouldn't normally do. Universities don't want to see flowery language or really fancy sentences or anything like that. They want to hear from you and make sure they're getting the real picture. And if you're not writing in a way that you wouldn't normally think or speak, you're probably going to struggle to sell yourself, and that's what your personal statement is really all about. Make sure that you're honest, make sure that you're straight to the point, and you demonstrate your passion for your chosen subject. Universities do not want to see tons of course words or jargon. All they want to know are facts that you can demonstrate, so that you can demonstrate that you will be 1, a good student, 2, that you are genuinely interested in the course, and 3, that you understand what the course is about. A lot of you are BTEC or cash students, and that means that you will actually have a bit of an advantage in this section of your application compared to, say, A-level students. And that is because a lot of careers, especially vocational careers like nursing, do rely more and more on work experience, and as part of your course you have had work experience, you have had industry placements, you have a much better understanding of the industry that you're going into because the course that you have done has been tailored specifically to that industry. So it is going to be easier for you to evidence some of those skills and abilities that you have developed while on the course compared to other students, and that is a good place to start, to have a think about what some of those skills are. Okay, first things first, we'll just go over some bullet points for your personal statement. Okay, there's no set way to write a personal statement, but you do not get much space, so be direct, be honest, and be to the point. A personal statement is only 4,000 characters long. This includes any letters or spaces that you have in it. This usually adds up to about 1 page of writing. Do not be afraid to share it. Everyone will have different opinions and ways to help, and so it is good to share your personal statement with as many different people as possible. Don't be embarrassed, show it to me, show it to your teachers, show it to your family, and show it to the careers team. Like, we've all seen hundreds of personal statements before and we know exactly the kind of advice to give you. Even if your personal statement isn't finished or isn't very strong, it doesn't matter. You know, we will help you get you to where it needs to be. Everything you've written before you submit it on UCAS is just a draft. The hardest thing for us to do in terms of supporting you is if you come to us with a blank sheet of paper. At the end of the day, I would much rather help support a student who has written 8,000 characters, cut that down to 4,000 characters, than help a student who has only written 200 characters, because the 8,000 characters student has just given us a lot more to work with. So the main thing you need to be focusing on first is making sure you're just getting words onto paper so that we know what kind of direction to help push you in. Remember that you only get to write 1 personal statement. So even though you have 5 choices of universities, you only send 1 personal statement to all of them. So make sure you don't name any universities. Make sure you don't write what your first choice is on your personal statement, and also make sure you do your research into all the different courses. You can get tons of information on the course that you're applying for on their website, and you do need to have a good understanding of that before you even start your personal statement. Otherwise, you will be disadvantaged in how you write it. A lot of students don't choose their 5 universities and just jump straight into the personal statement. If you have not done that yet, go back to your UCAS applications, add your 5 choices on, and then start your personal statement so you know 100% what you're applying for. So, it's perfectly normal when students start their personal statement or are working on the beginning to have complete writer's block. Every student gets it, every adult gets it at some point when having to write something like this, like a cover letter or personal statement, and the best thing to do is to just start writing. This is because it doesn't really matter what you do. This is your first draft. We can tell you, we can help you, we can change things if you make any mistakes or need to improve on anything. And if you can't think how to start the beginning, if you just can't get past that first stage, I suggest that you skip this bit and then go straight to the middle, because very often students will write something brilliant in the middle that can be then copy and pasted or copy and cut to the top of the personal statement, and it makes for the perfect beginning. This is because when you start to actually write your personal statement and get into the flow of things and start to actually be passionate about what you want to study, you very often do write something without even knowing it that is perfect for the top of your personal statements. Most of my students in the past, when I've read their personal statements, it's very rare for me to not go, cut that out and put it to the top, because that is where you want your best stuff. It is so important that the best stuff be at the top of your personal statement, because that is when the reader will be the most engaged, and if you start off on a good start, then they're going to be more likely to finish your personal statement to the end. So what you actually do, the content you're actually putting into the beginning, is really you are demonstrating your passion for the course. You are showing that you have an understanding of what it entails and say why you want to do it, and give examples of what has inspired you to want to do it. Show that you have a good understanding of your chosen career, and show that you understand what it is really about as well. Very often students will leave university without completing their first year, and that is because they didn't fully understand what the course was they were going into. This is especially true for courses like nursing, where again students get in, they realise they're way in over their head, and then they leave for something else. You are worth £30,000 to these universities. They will not accept you onto their course if they think you are going to be a gamble, especially for courses like nursing, where students very often do leave before the end of the first year. You need to make sure that you are demonstrating your passion, getting that across in this first paragraph, so that they will give you a place, or they can feel confident in giving you a place. If you don't know why you want to do the course, if you can't think of any reasons why you want to be a nurse or you want to do something else, then I would suggest that you take a step back and start having a think about your choices, because there's no such thing as a wrong university course. You either are interested in a subject or you're not interested in a subject. That's the only mistake you can make when choosing a course. Be passionate, don't be negative though. Starting a personal statement with a phrase like, I wanted to be a doctor but can't, so pursued a career in nursing. Sounds silly that I don't even have to tell you to do that, but very often students do start their personal statements with a negative statement, and you need to be positive throughout. So a few extra things to avoid when starting. Don't open with a quote. Universities aren't interested in hearing other people's words. They want to hear about from you. Okay, it's a massive cliche for students to open a personal statement with a quote, so avoid that at all costs. If you wouldn't do something in an interview, don't do it on your personal statement, because it's very likely that your interviewers at university are going to have your personal statement with them, and the last thing you want is to not be able to back up anything on your personal statement. So do make sure that you're being honest throughout. And I think lastly would be to avoid cliches, and I'll put a link in the description for a PDF about all the do's and don'ts with UCAS. But please don't start your personal statement saying, ever since I was little, I always looked up to nurses, because even if it is true, no one's going to believe it, because that phrase is just used way too often. Okay, so the middle is a lot easier or a lot more formulaic part of your personal statement, especially for BTEC and cash students, because it's all about the skills that you have or the skills that you can demonstrate that make you suitable for the course. These can be skills like leadership and communication skills, but don't get bogged down with just those two. There are a lot of different skills that you can talk about on health and social care personal statements. I very often see communication skills be mentioned over and over and over again, when there are actually 6 fundamental skills that we call the 6 C's that you can demonstrate if you are going to go into a career working with vulnerable people. You don't have to demonstrate all these skills, but some of them, some examples are care, compassion, courage, communication skills, competency, and commitment. And I always miss one. You don't need to demonstrate them all. Just select a few, think of how you can evidence some of them, and then put that into your skills, into the middle of your personal statement. Think about your work experience, think about where you have been, think about what has happened in your personal life that has allowed you to become a more caring and compassionate person. If it is nursing that you are interested in, I would suggest that you look at the NHS values. The NHS values are working together with patients, respect and dignity, commitment to quality of care, compassion, improving lives, and everybody counts. Those are very important values to the NHS, and one of the main things that nursing staff will be looking for when looking at your personal statement is that you hold those values, because if you don't, then they will not think that the NHS is a place that you can be working in. Any skills that you think about for your middle part of your personal statement, there is a simple formula that you can follow to make sure that you're always talking about the right things, and we call that ABC. A is for action, okay, which is where you say what it is that you have done. So an example could be maybe you've worked in a care home, that would be an action. B is the benefit. How has it benefited you? What have you learnt from going to that care home? What skills have you developed? And C is how it is relevant to your course. C stands for course, and you want to say how those skills are going to make you a better person. If you have developed a skill like compassion or care, why is it important for a nurse to have that? Why is it important for a nurse to treat individuals with respect and dignity? Why do you believe in the everyone counts value for the NHS? Those are just some examples. Now, not all of you are going into careers where you are looking to support individual people, but again, some of these skills like competency, communication skills, compassion, courage are all really important things to have and demonstrate if you are going into a health and social based or even a science based course. Maybe you want to talk more about particular units on your course that have interested you, that you have really excelled in, or outside of your course, maybe there have been particular moments in your life where you have demonstrated some really good skills that would make you a good student. It's impossible for me to go over them all in a 15-minute video, but again, have a good think about the different skills that you have, and if you can't think of anything, talk to your parents, talk to your family members, talk to your teachers. They know you as well. They can give you some examples that maybe you didn't think about, and that could be a really good way to make a start. And this part of your personal statement does tend to be the biggest, again, especially for BTEC and cash students, because you have so much to talk about and it's so hard to stick within that 4,000 character limit, but do your best to, and like I said, if you do go over, it doesn't matter, we can shorten it down later and get you down to those 4,000 characters. Like I said, I would always rather support a student who's written too much than too little, because I know exactly what you've done then and what I can help work you with. It also helps me write your reference for university as well, which I would do at the end of your UCAS application. So after the middle, you've got the end, obviously. The end of your personal statement is where the personal part really comes to life. There's no right or wrong way to end a personal statement, and at this point, a lot of students have gone over 4,000 characters, so that you're probably already struggling, but The main thing that you want to think about for your ending is your interests. Think about what makes you you. Think about what makes you stand out. Let your university lecturers know. These interests could be anything. It doesn't have to be related to your course. It could be reading, it could be painting, it could be gaming, it could be whatever you do in your spare time. Even if they're not interested or don't have the same interests as you, someone out there will. And one of the things they like to see is, or like to be confident about when they take you onto the course, is that you are going to fit in well in university life. There are hundreds of different societies at every university, and thousands of students engage with these every single year, and that is where you're probably going to make the bulk of your university friends, and it is really good to be able to demonstrate that. In addition to that, you have to remember that the only interaction that these university lecturers have with you before your interview would be this personal statement, would be this document. So it's very rare that they remember names straight away, but they do remember interesting things that stand out to them. So for example, a university lecturer might be in the staff room and think, oh, remember that student's personal statement who really liked painting? She was really good. I think she would make an excellent nurse. That would be one example of a student who has stood out because of their interests. Do your best to try and think of something that makes you unique. If you can't think of anything, which a lot of students do struggle with, talk to your friends about it, talk to your teachers about it, talk to your family about it. They will probably be able to highlight things that you've maybe not even thought about. Everyone has something that makes them stand out, whether they've done tons of volunteering or not. And on top of that, this is also a good point if you want to talk about things like volunteer work, Duke of Edinburgh or NUS if it hasn't linked into your course already. Any of those courses can obviously add a lot of benefit to a UCAS application, or if you've done any of the virtual placements like Medic Player or anything like that, that end of your personal statement is a good point to talk about that. If you have the space left, and usually you don't, I also do like to do a few lines to just do a little bit of a conclusion at the end, summarising why you'd be a good student for the course. But again, the main thing to get across is that you're unique and you will stand out. Okay, so we're just going to go over a few of the things to avoid in your personal statement now. So first things first, avoid complicated language, avoid waffly sentences. Don't say things like, I've had the privilege of doing X, Y, or Z, because you're just adding extra words then. You only have 4,000 characters. Be concise, be to the point. Don't say anything that you wouldn't say in an interview. Make sure your personal statement is something that is easy to read. If you do go over 4,000 characters and you need help getting it down, show it to people. You can show it to me, you can show it to your teachers, you can show it to your parents, you can show it to your friends. Sometimes it just takes a few extra eyes to even lower a personal statement by a few thousand characters. The next thing to make sure you don't do is don't copy. Universities pay a lot of money for anti-plagiarism software, and they will detect anything that you copy off the internet. So even try and avoid to use quotations, because one, universities don't like quotations anyway, and two, it's going to make you come up on plagiarism software even if you've cited it properly. Make sure that when you are writing your personal statement, as I've said a few times already, to never be negative, always be positive, otherwise the person reading it might develop a bad opinion of you. And lastly is one that can be quite hard because most students aren't used to talking about themselves, but do your best to sound confident. Try and avoid phrases like, I think I am suitable for this course, or I may be able to do this, or if that, and say, I know I am responsible for this course, I know I am suitable for this course because I have done X, Y, and Z. Be confident, be assertive, but don't be arrogant. Arrogancy would be if you were bragging about doing things without backing them up with evidence. The main things that universities really like to see when talking about certain points is that you have the evidence to back it up. And as BTEC and cash students, you have had a lot of experience in health and social care, and I've no doubt that you will be able to find something that can prove you have good communication skills, or something that will prove that you are a compassionate individual or have the courage to work in a healthcare setting. Do have a good think about and reflect on what you have done so far to get to this point, and you will have a very good chance of getting into university. Okay, so that's everything to do with this personal statement session. To just end with, we'll just do a bit of a summary. So, when you're writing your personal statement, show them you understand what you are applying for. Demonstrate that you have a passion and that you know you have made the right choice in applying for this course. Use a combination of work experience and outside reading to evidence this. Evidence everything you can, and remember to ABC, which is action, benefit, course. Your personal statement is a combination of head and heart. Be focused, but be enthusiastic. That is what they are looking for. Remember that you are not going to get it right on the first draft. No one ever does. You have until the end of the term to keep going back to this, and there is no shame in starting over again. Sometimes the best thing you can do if you don't like your personal statement is to just write a new one from scratch, or to use the old one as a guide while you write a new one. In fact, I would almost recommend every student do that, because very often when you write and make so many changes to a personal statement, you end up with a bit of a jumbled mess, and sometimes you just need to start again to make sure it reads well. It is only one page long. It is only 4,000 characters. I appreciate that's not a lot, but there's no leeway. If you copy and paste anything over 4,000 characters onto UCAS, it will not let you submit it. If you need help getting it shortened, make sure you show it to me, make sure you show it to your family, your friends, your teachers, whoever. Anyone can help you get it down a little bit, because everyone has their own different way of writing. It is normal to panic. It is a stressful time applying for university, and most of you have probably never written something like a personal statement before, but do your best to make sure you remain focused, you get your first draft done so we can get the balls rolling and we can start supporting you moving forward. You can get help by contacting, well, anyone, your friends, family, but again, your tutor mentors are there to support you as well. Your teachers will support you, and you can book one-to-one with careers anytime, and they will give you one-to-one support on any part of your UCAS application, as well as me. That's it for now. I just have one more bit to go over, and I'm going to talk about the personal statement tool on UCAS. This here is the UCAS undergraduate personal statement guide website. I will put a link to the in the description below, and you've probably already seen it on my Google Classroom already, but basically this website has everything you need to help you write a personal statement. There is tons of information. A lot of the stuff we would have already gone over. One thing included in here is this personal statement worksheet, which is a really good place to go to make if you're struggling to make a start on your personal statement, because it will help. It'll ask you a bunch of questions to help get you into the right mindset, and you can put together a personal statement based on your answers from that. Another way to do it is here. You've got the personal statement builder tool. So if you open that, it may ask you to create a UCAS Hub account, which I'll actually go into first. A UCAS Hub account will allow you to access all sorts of information, and it will also allow you to put in your preferences. So UCAS will send you tailored events based on what you're interested in. This could be virtual open days, it could be university talks, it could be UCAS talks, it could be anything that links to the courses that you want to do, and it will all get put here on your UCAS Hub. You won't already have one. Even if you've created a UCAS account, you do need to sign up with a new email, but it is a really useful place and one-stop for all your UCAS needs. And going back to here, the UCAS personal statement tool that we talked about before, you just go onto the website, you click use the tool, and it will take you to it. You then say get started, and then basically it will ask you a series of questions just like the worksheet, except the tool will put them together and give you a block of prose that you can use as a personal statement. The personal statement you get by using this tool won't be the best personal statement in the world, but it will be a good starting point if you are really struggling to make a start. So I would suggest, if any of you haven't already done a first draft for your personal statement, or are having a lot of trouble making that first draft, to come onto UCAS, use this personal statement tool, and get something that you can bring in to me with when we have a one-to-one, and we can start giving you some guidance on what the next steps. So that will about do it. Hope you learnt something, and check out the next videos here.